know the election has been in store process for a very long time. And now for them to come up and give a date for us to be able to have the elections on Friday, we want to request of the GJA as an association, the Election Dispute Adjudication Committee, the Election Committee, and all the bodies that are within the GJA's confinement to be able to come out with a clean voters register. As we indicated in the statement, there has been issues of some contestants raising, or some of the aspirants raising issues concerning the bloated register. And this is for the first time that GJA is having such an issues. And so we will request them to be able to do an in-house internal cleaning of the voters register so that whoever emerges as the president, as the secretary, organizing secretary, treasurer, or public affairs, either at the national or at the regional levels, would be able to accept the results and the outcome of the election as free, fair, and credible. That is all we are asking the GJA for.
A clean voters register.
Yes, please.
Well, okay, so the candidates have, which issues particularly attract your attention? The ones that have been raised about the register, which one raised by which candidates attracts your attention that you want the GJA to address?
Yes, so now all the candidates have issues. And so we will not be able to single out what candidate bring this or which candidate is arguing for this. All the candidates, and if you have followed the process, you will see that almost all the candidates that are contesting for the president have issues relative to the register. And so there are instances where you see that in the case of GIJ students have been staffed on the voters register. That issue has been raised. That of Atinka issue was raised. There is an issue in Brown Hafo that is also raised by some aspirants. And so we wish that GJA would take its time and do a thorough cleaning of the voters register and to allow its members to have a clean, free, and fair elections. So these are some of the teasing issues that we have noted when it comes to the voter register. And that is for our first point of view. Also, within our second point, we
okay,
also...
so before you move on to the second, those issues that you are raising about that have been raised about the register, we have about 4 days to the elections. Today is Monday.
Okay.
If they have not been resolved now, what gives you the impression that they will be resolved? And how do they ensure that at least the candidates are happy that something has been done about it? What do you expect the GJA to do?
Yes, that is why I'm saying that the Election Dispute Adjudication Committee has an oversight to that. And for that matter, we are only entrusting that they will come up with a clean register that all the aspirants by Friday will be happy with. I know there are levels of engagement with the aspirants and there are levels of engagement with some of the executives and other things that we are very much aware. So we are only hoping that by the time the elections will come on Friday, everything will be settled and that we wouldn't have to have issues of going to court and come in with this hurdle so that, the image and the sanctity of GJA as an association can be protected. So if GJA is not able to conduct an election that is devoid of vote buying, that is devoid of other entanglements, then we will not be able to criticize government and be able to criticize any other association as a mother body of the fourth estate of the realm.
You said you had a second issue?
Yeah, so that was what I just mentioned quickly about. It has also come to notice some candidates who are also conducting themselves in the area of vote buying. And we want to caution that these things are not in standing with the constitution of GJA. And for that matter, there are sanctions for candidates who engage in such acts. And we want to plead with all the aspirants that the issue of vote buying should be something that we have all been criticizing in national elections, and it should not be encouraged when it comes to the GJA elections on Friday.
Vote buying?
Yeah.
As in people who are contesting to be chairman of the GJA have money to pay for votes?
Yes, so these issues have come up. And yesterday, speaking to one of your sister stations, they even cited that they've seen a document or they find certain ways in which some aspirants are trying to induce the delegates with money. Yes. So we are only costing the candidate, whether you are a secretary, you are a chairman, organizing secretary, whether you are contesting for an upcoming election within the regional or the national levels. We want to entreat all of them to put an end to such acts, because it doesn't speak well of GJs, it doesn't give a good image. Whoever emerges should come out with his own ability, and people should be able to have the free will to vote on credibility of that candidate.
That's interesting. Poor journalists have money to pay other journalists.
Now maybe you don't have money, but when you get to contest opposition, maybe by then you have money as GJ president.
Oh, that would be fantastic. But in the national election now, the money keeps going up. Now we are in the thousands. How much is the going rate for a journalist?
When you get there, you see how much you get. Maybe perhaps you have not come across.
Oh, yes, because I would really like to know, what are you finding out in terms of some of what is being offered?
Currently, those taking monies are not willing to devote how much they are taking. And those, you don't also know which particular aspirant you are to speak to be able to tell you that this is how much I'm paying or this is how much I'm offering. Do you get that? But there is that notion that there's been that sense that money is being paid to some delegates. The one taking the money is not willing to tell you how much he's receiving for the elections, because he feels like that will be on his credibility. And the one paying also knows that it's against the constitution of the GJA and will not be willing to tell you how much he's offering. So unless maybe Sena gets the opportunity to receive from any of the delegates and then we are candidates, and then we'll be able to see how much exactly we are talking of.
It is rare to pay somebody like me. I'll come and say it. Anyway, well, so maybe one of the things we can do is try to get, but in the meantime, you are saying that if we go ahead with these elections in the manner in which we are going ahead with it, acrimonious issues over the register, then the GJ then goes ahead with an election in those circumstances, and people are alleging that monies are exchanging hands. You said we'll have had no right to turn around and hold other people accountable?
Yes. Because these are issues that GJA is a mother body of journalists, professional journalists, including you and every journalist that practices media in Ghana and in elsewhere. So once we are unable to have the opportunity to conduct our own internal elections and make sure that elections are credible, that such elections were free and transparent, how will we go ahead to criticize an MPP government? How will we go about to criticize the NDC government, or maybe the NDC opposition parties and other CPP, PNC? How will we do that? Because your hands are not clean. He who calls for equity must come with clean hands.
But there are some journalists who tell you, I'm not a member of the GJA. Why should what happens in the GJA affect me?
Yes. Most of the journalists that are not members of GJA, ask them. Some of them had been there before. Others had issues with GJA. And so that is also another relevant thing that we need to look at. So the association has not been so much appealing to them. And as a matter of fact, they have withdrawn their membership or they have left the association completely due to individual persons' attitudes and behaviors. And so coming out of this election, we are urging members of the GJA who are going to vote on Friday to vote on credibility, vote on professionalism, vote for people who will defend the rights of journalists in this country, not leaders who will come and praise government and praise opposition parties when these people are affecting the media freedom in this country. We need leaders to emerge from this election that can transform GJA. So that those journalists that are not part of it, those that are not willing, and those that have been there, will have the confidence that indeed GGA represents journalists and professionalism in this country.
Eric, thank you very much for speaking to us. And of course, we'll follow this story. And when it arises, we may have to speak to you again. Eric, thank you.
Thank you so much, Nana. I'm grateful.
Eric Effah Appiah, who is Executive Director, Coalition for Media Reforms Africa. Nancy, are you monitoring the GGA elections anymore?
No, really.
Because you were